Hello everyone, Chris Snodgrass here, coming to you from very cold and very dry but very beautiful Kabul, Afghanistan. And today I want to talk to you about some of the leadership styles and the followership traits that I noticed while watching Crimson Tide starring Gene Hackman and Denzel Washington. Now, first of all, before I get into that, I want to apologize for my background and for the lighting of this video. But again, I am coming from Afghanistan and working with limited resources, so this is about as good as it's going to get. Okay, so to get to the point of our presentation here, we're going to start with Captain Ramsey. Okay, Captain Ramsey's leadership style and some of the things that he portrays as a leader. Now, he's a very old school, task-focused, authoritarian figure. All right, he's solely focused on the mission at hand. This is what needs to get done, and this is how I want it to get done. And he completely believes that whatever he says goes, and people should do what he says with no questions asked, simply because he's the commander of the ship and all the authority lies with him. He is the first in the chain of command. Okay, so there are a lot of situations in the movie, scenes in the movie where he depicts this, but one in particular I'd like to point out, just because we're going to use it again later in the presentation, is about 37 minutes into the movie when Lieutenant Commander Hunter comes to him talking about the morale of the men. He thinks the morale is low. Well, Captain Ramsey completely disregards this and actually responds by mocking Hunter and pretty much telling the men that if they have any kind of problem or whatever they have going on, then they just need to get over it. All right, because they're at war, and that's just kind of how things go. So, in stark contrast, Lieutenant Commander Hunter is he's dual focused. He's more able to adapt his leadership style to the situation and to the personnel. Okay, so he knows what needs to get done. He has a task, he has a mission. He's focused on that. Right? He wants to get the mission done, but at the same time, he's able to concern himself more with the men as well. Like, he wants to get the mission done, but not at the expense of his men. All right, because we always say, personnel is your #1 asset in any situation. So about 34 minutes into the movie, Hunter notices a fight. He witnesses a fight between two people, and after investigating a little bit, he realizes that the fight is actually over who the best Silver Surfer is. Okay, now the pettiness of this fight leads him to the conclusion that the morale of the men are low. I mean, but what it also does is it leads him to realize that things like this happen. I mean, they're a group of men, a lot of testosterone flowing in a very small space. They're under high stress. The situation kind of took care of itself. Okay, so he didn't really see a need to do any kind of official punishment because, again, like I said, the situation kind of took care of itself. And honestly, in this situation, it's probably the right call. He made a correction, and he was assured that it wouldn't happen again, and he was good with that. And this situation is what eventually led to the morale concern that he brought up to Captain Ramsey later on, just a few minutes later, like in the very next scene, to which, as you can see, Captain Ramsey had a completely different outlook on the entire situation. Okay, there's also a scene about an hour and 15 minutes into the movie where Lieutenant Commander Hunter is talking to their communications officer, Bossler. Getting the combo back up and running is a very daunting task, and it's of the utmost importance. Okay, so he can tell that Bossler is feeling the pressure from this. Like, he can tell, like, the guy's sweating, he's stuttering, he doesn't think he can do it. So what he does is he takes an authoritarian role and tells him, it's like, hey, you got to get this done. You're going to get this done no matter what. But he also, at the same time, realizes that he can't do it himself. Like Bossler's got to be the guy to do it. So he takes a delegative approach toward that, and he boosts his morale, is what he does. He builds his confidence. He's like, hey man, you're the guy. Like, you are going to get this done. I know you can get this done for me. He shows him that he trusts him, that he believes in his abilities, and it boosts Bossler's morale and his confidence, and it ultimately leads him to getting the job done. He makes it happen in the end, and it saved the mission, saved everybody's life. You know, I mean, they avoided nuclear war. I mean, it's a pretty big deal. Okay, so on top of all the leadership examples that we have in this movie, we also have plenty of followership examples. One in particular is about an hour and 10 minutes into the movie. This is where Doherty, Westergaard, and Zimmer, they actually approach Wepps to get him to join their cause. They pull him aside and they're like, hey man, we need you to get this done. Right? They have their orders from Captain Ramsey, and Wepps, he shows a survivor trait in this situation. Like he doesn't agree with what they have going on, but at the same time he realizes he's outnumbered, and he ultimately feels intimidated into doing this. I mean, what he does is he's being a survivor. He does what he has to do to save his career and possibly even his life at this point, because I mean, this is a dire situation for him. Okay, so in that same scene, the other three guys, what they're doing is showing more of a yes man or a yes people trait. Like they have their orders from Captain Ramsey. They're following those orders, and they're not really thinking for themselves, which almost makes them sheep. But the difference is they're taking a very active role in their cause, and they're recruiting other people for their cause and trying to get more people on board, because they know they need Wepps because they can't fire the missile without him. So they take it upon themselves to say, hey man, this is what we would need you to do this. Okay, so that's pretty much it. The movie gives many examples, both leadership and followership examples. It's a great way. It's a great movie that shows how ineffective leadership leads to chaos, confusion, low morale. But it's also a great movie to show how good leaders are able to adapt to their personnel and their situation, because as leaders, that's what we need to do. We never know what kind of situation we're going to be in. So I hope you all took something away from this presentation. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I thank you so much for your time.